Welcome to Builds with Blocks, a show centered around the micro action figures and brick-based construction sets of the Halo universe. I'm your host, Colin Perkins, aka Perks, and I'm joined by Tom Fishenden, aka Fish.
Feet first into hell, baby!
Matt Salvatore, aka Salvo.
Oi, how we doing, guys?
And special guest, Tom Bovee, aka Bovee.
I'm just happy I survived the drop.
He's not soup. With the addition of Halo 3 ODST to the PC version of the Master Chief Collection, we wanted to celebrate by paying homage to our beloved Hell Jumpers. So we're diving feet first into hell with a very special ODST exclusive nonstop joyride featuring the best that Mega Blocks / Mega Construx has ever created. We're going to talk about some figures. We're going to be talking about those drop pods and the sets that include our ODSTs as well. But before we get into the main show, let's chat about what we've been up to on the block front. Fish, I'm going to start with you. What have you been doing?
Just been chilling in the ocean, swimming around.
Yeah? That sounds neat.
Yeah.
Finding Nemo.
All about Dory, mate. Gotta be Dory. Yeah, I started my month off being very annoyed, as you boys know, because I had the skiff and the AA gun pre-ordered on Amazon, and then on the day, not before, on the day, when I'm sitting there waiting for them to arrive, Amazon sent me an email saying that they couldn't fulfill them, and they still haven't been able to. So that was a bit frustrating. However, I used that as an excuse to buy a lot of stuff that I didn't really need. So,
Such as?
I have the blue Xenomorph coming from America, from Heroes Series 3. I got 4 of the Terminator Resistance, armory pack for the Resistance Trooper. I got 1 for the T-1000. And then I also got the Call of Duty Ground ATV, which is like the moon buggy from Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. So I got a few cool things.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, so I've actually been building a ton, which has been fun. And I'm just sat here like, please, Halo gods, fulfill my order now. This is the last thing I want. Just give them to me. And actually, I literally just before this show, and I completely forgot about this, and Colin, I meant to tell you about these anyway to stop you searching for them. I have got 2 Elite Ultras on the way from my good buddy Tim. A Brute Warrior, and also the Alien Queen, and the Dutch versus Predator 2-pack.
Very nice. Look at you.
Congrats.
Yeah, so I've spent stupid amounts of money this month, and I'm going to be feeling it next month.
Hashtag worth it. What about, you've been publishing anything? Any photos? I saw you're a spotlight man. You're like, what's your run now?
I don't even know at this point. Yeah.
5 in a row? More than that?
Yeah, I shot a few photos with the Master Chief Collection set, so I kind of did profile photos for each of the Chief figures. And then just today, actually, at the time of recording this, we are recording this on Monday the 21st. I think it's the 21st today. I have dropped a review of those figures on our YouTube channel as well. So we've got a short format review. I think it's like 2 minutes 40, something like that. And then later this week, I'm going to be dropping a lore deep dive that we made in collaboration with Halopedia as well. So lots of kind of little bits and bobs going on. And then on the Jurassic front, I do just want to say, Camp Cretaceous is now live. So my time has been eaten up by that Netflix show this past month.
Very nice. I watched the first episode. It was cute.
Cool. Yeah. It's really good. It gets, like, I don't want to say too dark, but I think as an older fan, you'll appreciate a lot of the kind of tonal nods towards Jurassic Park in the later episodes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, thanks, Tom. Appreciate that. So, Matt, how about yourself? I haven't talked to you very much lately. What have you been doing?
I have been pretty busy with work, but on the collection front, I was able to grab. I don't remember the official name of it, but it's the Dollar General turret with the Spartan and the Grunt.
What do you think of that?
Yeah. So I liked it. I picked up two. I like it because of the Grunt, because I like just grabbing stuff that builds the army. I like the turret. It has a Halo 1 kind of shade turret vibe.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it just kind of feels like that kind of a turret, so I like it. I haven't built the second one, but I'm probably going to build the second one because, and I'll give you guys all a little spoiler, I have completed a bit more of my Halo Infinite mock.
Oh.
So it is much, much, much bigger. And so I'm going to be adding some stuff, and hopefully I'll be able to get a video cut, and maybe we'll put it on the channel. I have been super busy with other Legos. I did just release a Lego version of the Batman trailer, and that has become my most successful stop motion.
Yeah.
I was very excited to see that Mattson Thompson had quote tweeted it with a little heart emoji. And for those who don't know, he co-wrote the Batman with Matt Reeves.
That's awesome.
So I was ecstatic to actually have this guy comment on it. So I was hoping that Matt Reeves would comment, but nothing yet. So, so that's what I've been doing. It took me quite a bit to get that trailer going. Like I said earlier, with other stop motions, I think the hardest part about doing those kind of trailers is every scene is a different set because it's something that's cut together really quick. So I have to build constantly new sets. And so hopefully with my new Infinite mock, I'll be able to leave that up. And I've built this new version to kind of be, well, I guess it's not new, it's just an addition. I've added to kind of make it a little more easy for me to stop motion with. So hopefully I'll be able to kick some of those out. That's exactly the point. Infinite possibilities. And so hopefully that all kind of works out. I'm running out of table space, so eventually it's going to have to stop. I might just, build and rebuild or build on top of it or something. But yeah, that's what I've been pretty much doing. And last thing I picked up was I picked up another DC set because the new Batman film is coming out. We're probably going to be getting new sets, and so we're going to see the older sets kind of slip away, and that those versions of the characters probably won't be redone for a little bit. So I was able to pick up a couple of the older Justice League sets just so I could keep them in case I have to replace, or if I lose a Batman, I have an extra one. So I was able to grab a couple of those, and that's basically what I've been doing. I have been working on our episode with Goodwill Hunter. I'm almost done, and so it'll definitely be released before this episode. But I promise you, I have been working on it.
Okay, yeah. So
you guys will hear.
You'll be hearing this a couple weeks later, but
yeah,
Tom's been working really hard on that one. Matt, you mentioned the new Batman. So they're still releasing movies. That's a thing. I thought they just delayed every movie ever.
Hopefully, they're definitely gonna delay this one. I know Robert Pattinson, the Batman, recently got COVID, so they shut down production again. They did just restart it, so just in time for Batman Day. So Matt Reeves is back on filming, so hopefully it sticks to its target release date. Where the world is, especially the way they keep kicking the Wonder Woman movie down the road. I doubt we're going to see Batman hold to its schedule, but hopefully by 2020 everything is better and the world is working again.
Well, fingers crossed that the Halo show doesn't get delayed too much. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, I know. I haven't even thought about that.
Yeah. We've seen so little of it as it is. It's weird.
I've seen Pablo's lifting weights, so I'm good. I'm happy about that. Why don't I go real quick here? So I've been spending way too much time in Walgreens because that's where I heard that the new blind bags were most available. And I did grab a couple of the figures, not all of them, but then I finally did stumble into a Target recently, within a couple days ago, and I grabbed everything finally. So I finally have a full set of the new blind bag, the Halo Infinite blind bag series.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we'll probably talk about that when you guys are able to get your hands on it. But overall, once I have it in my hands, I feel like I'm maybe happier than what I was originally. I
Yeah.
still would love to have a brute or something that feels more like a banished figure in it. But overall, I think it's rad. The Pelican's pretty rad, actually, now that I have it. So, I wish it was. I still wish it was a ship, but having this thing, I can actually. So the other set that I did get is the building box that Matt
Yay.
has, and I compare. So I just compared it. I sent you guys a picture recently, so maybe you guys can put that in the edit. But just comparing it to the Pelicans that's in the building box, the one that's in the blind bag, and I actually like the blind bag one better. It's a little smaller, but it seems, I don't know, maybe a little more intricate. The other one's a little bit chunky. So, so that's cool. And I also like the Gungnir, the red Gungnir that comes with that. I think that's my current favorite Infinite figure. Because
Nice. It's a very nice
red
figure.
is kind of my
I'm not going to
thing.
say its name,
and
but I'm
red
not.
and black. Yeah, right, don't. And it's got some cool little paint applications. So I think that might be my default when Infinite finally comes out. I'm gonna make that little guy.
Nice.
A couple other things I did for the show. I did build over this last weekend. I finally built my NMPD Pelican, my signature series. So I have things
Hoorah.
to say about that. My sons have been enjoying playing with that the last couple days. A couple other quick things. The Alien Queen did pop up on Walmart. I think actually Rich alerted me to it from Goodwill Hunter. And I was able to get it, like, when I went to the actual page in Walmart, it was, like, aired out. It didn't work. But I was still able to add it to my cart from, like, the search, product search. And then Walmart has since followed up and said that it's coming. So I'm looking forward to finally getting my hands on that. That way I don't have to go. Well, like, Walmarts are kind of a mess here in Minnesota. There's just not much available. So I've been spending too much time going into Walmarts when I know there's nothing there. So now I just get that, right? The other set that I did pick up was the Ice Dragon from GOT. Is it Viseron?
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So I'm gonna get that as well.
Awesome.
Why don't we go over to our featured guest and see what he's been doing, Mr. Tom Bovee. Thanks for joining us today. Why don't you give us a little rundown of what you've been up to?
Well, hello, guys. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I love this hobby as much as the rest of you, even though, as I get into my little story here, I'm not the collector in my house. My son is.
You're the enabler.
I am. I'm the bank, I guess, is the way I would put it.
Right.
And I like to hunt for the figures. So, and that leads me into what I've been doing, I guess. With everything going on in the world, I haven't gotten out as much as I used to, and Facebook Marketplace hasn't been the hot spot for getting steal deals like it used to be. But I've been trying to fill in gaps in our collection, trying to fill in small spots with some of the new stuff. I don't have the new Infinite bags like Colin does. I've got two, but not a full set, which is very depressing. And I've done the same thing, is searched my local Walgreens randomly. But otherwise, yeah.
I got you if you get desperate. You know that, because we actually live in the same state, not too far from each other. So we've been helping each other out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been a great deal and a lot of help with having another local collector. You know, we're about 2 hours apart, but that works. And I've done a lot of helping other collectors over the last probably 3-4 months find pieces that they're missing. I tend to be the guy that everybody hates when I go into the store. I buy most of everything that's there. If I can find it, or if I think it's going to be something that somebody's going to need. I've met a lot of people like Colin that I've gotten to know through the time that, you know, can't get stuff, can't find stuff. So I've sent stuff to multiple different countries and helped people out. For those listening, I probably won't help you unless I offer. I don't want 1,000 people messaging me asking me to hold stuff for them. But I too tend to like to do that. Me and my son.
Really quick, I mentioned that big giant lot that I had, in one of our early episodes. So, Mr. Bovee and I are the ones that split that. So you now have that, and you've probably been parsing that thing out. I don't know if you got it all built out. I didn't get an update on that yet, but that thing was massive.
Yeah, that filled the back of my Jeep with totes full of miscellaneous parts. It was an absolute mess. But I would say for the most part, what was even close to complete has been completed since.
Nice. How about what else have you been up to? You said your son is the collector, and so why don't you talk about? Should we kind of get into it? Should we get into? Well, we'll start with your Halo history, but I'll mention it here. So Tom and his son have almost every figure that Mega has released, and I want to dig into that in a little bit. But just a little teaser, like that's wild. The fact that you guys have been collecting that long and you have tracked all that sort of stuff, that's dedication, and also impressive. And so I'm interested to hear that story. But why don't we start with a little history of Halo, as we always start with our guests. Take us back to like maybe your first experience or what hooked you on Halo. Maybe you're just a figure fan. Give us a little bit of your story on that.
Well, I'm old enough to have played Halo on Xbox, before it was 360, before it was Xbox One, before it was just Xbox. And I had the Halo Edition Xbox, and not because I wanted the Halo Edition one, because that was the one my Target happened to have when I went in there to buy it. I wish I still had it. That would be awesome. I have no idea what happened to it all these years later. But
GameSpot most likely hasn't or had it.
So I lived in a 7-bedroom house through college with 7 other guys. So we bought what they call a combat cable, so we could hook 4 Xboxes together and play 16-player Halo in the house that we lived in. So we did a ton of that. It probably kept me from doing other things that I shouldn't have been doing anyway. But we used to have local parties, LAN parties of just 16 people or even 8 people, spread out among 4 separate TVs in 4 separate rooms.
That's crazy. So much fun.
Yeah.
Those are the days.
It was a whole lot better than it is now, I guess. Not that I don't like being, screamed at by a 9-year-old over the internet, but it was just a different way of doing it and a whole lot of fun. And that's what got me into Halo. As I was the great parent, I used to work really early mornings, and so when I would have my kid during the evening, my son, and while my wife was at work, and so I would play video games while he slept, and over time he grew into the game literally. And for maybe 3, maybe 4 years old, he asked we were at the store and he wanted the Halo set that he found. So the original Last Man Standing set was the very first set that we got,
nice.
And it's still one of my favorites. But and I still have a picture of him holding that set at Target when he was probably 3 or 4 years old.
That's great. And so were you a builder then? Like go back to, when you go back, even further, were you a Lego guy growing up, or has this hobby mainly come from your son?
I had Legos like crazy as a kid. Legos and G.I. Joes. I was ridiculously spoiled and had all the fun stuff and was able to, just love to build. I very rarely did I put a set together and leave it together. I would put it together, tear it apart, and build something different.
Nice. So you customized.
I did. As a kid, I did a ton of that. My son is maybe a little more OCD than me. He likes to build it and then just leave it. But he's started to adventure into the customization process now. But I started as a builder. I got to build all of his sets for years, which satisfied my cravings and allowed me to keep buying them. So that was nice. And now he builds all his own stuff, so I don't have as much fun, but once in a while I'll sneak one in.
Yeah, so I'm kind of in that transition with my 6-year-old. He's very capable now. I think back just 2 years ago when he was 4 and I was like kind of starting to get him into it, but it was way too early. I did the majority of the building while he would help a little bit, but especially with Mega, the pieces just fit together a little bit too hard. So I've transitioned him over to more Lego stuff, which, fits together a little easier, and just has a more variety. And I'll get him on Halo stuff eventually. Right? He is enjoying that NMPD Pelican that I've just put together. But that's a fun transition to see as a parent. What so talk about this collection. Talk about the figure thing. When did that start? Did that start with was that the goal from the onset, or did you just reach a point where you two realize, hey, we almost have all of these. Let's track them all down.
It kind of just evolved into that, I would say. Uh-huh. We always had a big collection. We tended to buy what we could find, and when we obviously had distribution issues for a while there, but we seemed to still have good luck just finding random things and collecting the things we needed. So I would just buy the stuff and either keep it or open it, and then he started to follow some of the customizers on the Facebook and on Instagram, and he started to really get into that. So that just added fuel to the fire. And then one day we bought a huge lot of figures, like it had to be like 750 figures from one guy for like 20 cents a piece. And it was a mixture of random stuff, and so it worked. I mean, it was like $200 and some with shipping, so it was a pretty big lot, but it was just figures, and it was mostly the we call them Gen 1s and Gen 2s, or some people call them non-SPs and SPs. It was mostly the old style figure, but at the same time we bought this huge lot, and it was like, okay, now we can actually get to a point, now that I don't have to just buy figures for him to customize because he has enough, I can actually start to look for the ones we don't have.
Okay.
And so we kind of set out to buy the entire collection of figures, just figures. Like the Scarab. I don't have a Scarab, but I have all of the figures from a Scarab. So I'm working my way towards that.
Yeah, that's cool. So it sounds like maybe that came from you then, the I don't know, completionist approach, or was Daniel saying, "Hey, what if we got them all, Dad?"
A lot of it was more me, and I want to complete the we've come this far, we have this many figures, it would be great to finish what we started. And it's kind of a catch-22 in my mind, because I want to have them all, but I also love to hunt and search for figures.
Right.
So if you lose the ability to do that, then some of the spark and the desire to keep collecting goes away. So I haven't been. I could probably get everything I'm missing. I just haven't been all over getting it all at once. So that I'm not. I don't want to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're still looking for the best deals to get them and stuff like that. That makes sense. So what are you missing? Do you know? Like, is it just a handful, or I guess do you have a count? How many you have?
I don't have an accurate count as of right now as to what we have. I believe it's over 1,000 different figures.
That's crazy.
I know we have over 4,000 figures total. So we have multiples of many things, and again, I tend to buy what I find, and then I also will resell those, the ones we don't end up opening, for what I paid for them. I don't scalp figures, so people do like that, but at the same time, I end up with multiples of Rookie and Dare and those things, because they're going to be hard to find later, and I understand that.
Right.
So, and I'm going to preface this by saying, of the known figures, because I don't know that there's a list. I don't know that anybody can tell you exactly how many there are.
Right.
I'm sure there's somebody out there that might have an accurate list. Maybe I've asked Mega, I've asked several people that I know that are into the collecting and into the sets, but I don't know the number. But of the known figures that I've gone through the Mega pages and searched the internet to try to find maybe something that I don't know about, I believe we're missing 13 figures that I know of.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
Wow.
So 13, and do you have like the weapons that go with all of them, or just the figures for everything?
Oh, we've got weapons galore.
I'm sure.
There's
But I mean, say, do you pair each figure with like the weapon it was designed or released with?
Only if it's like a painted weapon. The generic weapons are all just thrown into the divider buckets, but the painted weapons and the hero stuff stays with them.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And you have a giant display as well, right?
So I love to woodwork. So yeah, we've built a display on my son's wall of rows and rows and rows of figures, with one of each individual figure on the one wall of his room. And so
they're all like shoulder to shoulder, like nobody's back to back. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we use the old style stands, the 3-peg on the top stands.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to go out and buy those, which is even harder because most people just threw them away. But I've had to go out and buy the actual stands, and then we use the Lego tape to I don't know what it's actually called, the Lego tape to set it down there, and then we put the figures underneath or on that, staggered, so they're kind of lined up in nice rows and very easily seen.
Are they in a particular, and maybe you have some pictures that we can show on YouTube, are they in a particular order, like color order or release order or anything like that, or maybe style? How do you have them organized?
So we're going to go back to my son's OCD. Everything is separated between first generation or non-SP figures and the second generation or SP figures. So he's got them separated that way by color. With, again, the heroes have their own section. Elites are together, grunts are together, Spartans are together, Marines are together. Everything is separated by figure type. I would have gone by color personally, because then it's easier for me to find what I'm missing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is how he likes it. It is his collection, so that's how we have everything organized.
That's cool. So I've seen there's a video out there of Jang Brick's collection, and he's got them on like a big, I don't know, like a stadium stairs display. But you guys should really do a video, post it somewhere. That would be impressive to see.
My son is a big Instagrammer. He maybe a little bit too much. He enjoys that very much, and he's got collection videos on his YouTube and on his Instagram page. And I will definitely let you guys know that at the end, as far as how to look at those and how to see those.
Awesome, very cool. So why don't we get into the ODST stuff? And Bovee, you have told me, over the last year or two, like you're an ODST guy. I think when we talked about favorite sets, you mentioned just one of the, I think it wasn't Lang, it was Graves maybe, that was your favorite Halo heroes. So what's so intriguing? Why are you drawn to ODSTs?
To me, it was the best game. I've gotten older. I haven't really played a ton of Halo 4. I haven't played a ton of Halo 5. But ODST was the best game as far as just storyline, gameplay, entertainment value. It was the whole package. So I played a ton of that game and really just enjoyed it. And we can't all be a Spartan, right? So and Mega has produced 1,000 different Spartan variations and different types and different kinds, but Spartans were supposed to be somewhat rare. It was supposed to be something that was special on the battlefield, but ODSTs and Marines, they necessarily weren't. They're infantry troopers, so you've got thousands of them for every one Spartan is really how it should be. So I'm drawn to the ODSTs, the guys getting dropped in behind enemy lines. Whether that's realistic or not, we kind of talked about, but at the same time, it's just, these are supposed to be the best of the best as far as just the grunt troopers. And I always like that about them.
Like the non-enhanced, right? The soldiers that didn't get the special sauce. These are the best of the rest. So if there weren't Spartans, like the ODSTs would be the best, right?
Right, and again, you're brave enough, and you've got all the skills to be dropped in behind enemy lines. So you're talking the best of the best, the best of the bravest. They're everything you would want to be if you were not genetically, cybernetically, whatever, enhanced into a super soldier.
Yeah, absolutely. So we interrupt this program to bring you some breaking news. Mega, actually Toy Wiz, brought to you by Toy Wiz. They just released 3 new sets. They posted 3 new sets. So I want to, before we dive in further into ODST talk, which is the main topic of the show, let's just talk about these real quick. Tom, why don't you give me your quick impression of this blind bag series? What does it look like for you?
Not as good as the first one.
Okay.
So, in terms of like stuff I like here, obviously we've got the red jackal, which is cool. It's not in front of me, so I'm completely blanking. But there's a bluish grunt in the same color scheme as the elite from the first one. But apart from that,
it looks more purple in my opinion.
Yeah, kind of like purple, sort of iridescent color sort of scheme going with it. But then beyond that, it's literally just Spartans, which, I don't like. And I'm sat here now like, did you actually mean me, or were you asking?
No, I meant you.
Bovee?
No, I meant you. I know. Well, yeah, that's why we gave us nicknames to begin with. So yeah, we want more insight from you, Fish. So we have the elite, and then we have the grunt, and then the jackal. So we do have a little variety there. Again, no brute.
No ban, yeah.
But the red on the jackal feels a little bit more banished, and I feel like the elite feels like it's part of the banished.
Yeah.
And then there's the purple grunt, and then we have a phantom. I think that's a phantom.
Yeah.
That's our buildable figure set, which is kind of interesting, and then a whole bunch of Marines. And I'm actually into these. At least the yellow one. I think that looks like a new armor, perhaps. You guys might be able to correct me on that.
I don't like it. Yeah,
you don't like it?
It's a new armor piece, but the sort of chest plate looks really bulky.
It's bulky, yeah. I like the helmet. The helmet looks mean, but the rest of it is bulky. You're right.
kind of, for me, when it comes to 343 designs, I like the more practical ones. So Soldier's a really good example where it's got like all the tack pouches and everything. But I feel like this just looks like really overly angular, and I feel like if you have armor that's extruding from your chest that much, isn't it just going to limit the movements you can do tactically in a battle?
Yeah, that's interesting. We do get the active camo as well, so we do have a gummy and then a couple of Spartans. But yeah, we'll see. It's usually how these work out is like they release them and everybody's critical, and then when you get them in your hands, they're like, oh, this acts pretty good. So
Yeah.
I feel like this might be the case again here. I'm excited to have that red jackal. That'll be kind of cool. Any highlights for you, Salvo?
I always like the Ultra, so I'm always happy to see another Elite Ultra show up. I'm with Tom. The yellow Spartan isn't. I've said it before. I'm not a particular fan of having a bright yellow Spartan on a battlefield. It is kind of nice that they're adding the color, so you can change his arm. Obviously, it looks like he has a red arm. The weapons that come with it, the DMR, that looks pretty new. I don't think I haven't had that kind of a DMR yet. So that looks awesome to see. I've always liked having more active camo guys, so that's cool.
That's a bulldog, I think, too. The active camo bulldog.
Yeah, active camo bulldog. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I would have liked to have seen some more Marines in this, but like in a set that we're going to talk about in a little bit. That's got all the Marines for you. But I'm going to have to agree with you, Colin, and say that I would have liked to have seen maybe a little more of a focus on like a banished brute, or maybe at least a brute, because obviously Infinite is centering around brutes, but it would have been nice to see. But as of right now, I'll agree with Tom and say, to me, I think the first series is better. It had kind of a bit more of a spread to it. I know it didn't have as many bad guys, but like I said, it had a Marine, and it had my favorite kind of colored grunt.
The orange.
So yeah, I'm like you said, I'm happy to get these in hand, because of course I'm gonna buy them.
Right.
Because I'm a shame.
And we know Bovee's going to buy them. He's going to end up with it as well. But have you had a chance to look at the platoon pack?
The platoon pack,
No,
we saw that.
Bovee, did you have a chance to look at that one?
Oh.
I
What
guess
do you think of that?
I've seen this a couple times since it was discussed. So over probably the last month, I've seen it pop up here and there. But this is exactly what we've been asking for. I mean, this is 5 Marines, 1 Spartan, which is probably a better ratio than 4 Spartans and 4 bad guys like the new blind packs.
Like more realistic, right?
But at the same time, you can get a couple of these and swap some pieces out, change some things around, and now you've got 10 new Marines or 10 different Marines. So this is what fans have been wanting for a long time, is a set that we can army build Marines with, and this is really the first time, with the new Infinite line altogether, that we've ever gotten that.
So is it an officer kind of in the bottom right that doesn't have a helmet?
Engineer, maybe?
Yeah, I'd say like an engineer, because it looks like he comes with a tack pad. But what I would say, I reckon he will have a helmet, because if you look in the lower bit of the packaging, there's like some plastic bagging where the turret is. But it did say it would come with other accessories as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple of little extra bits there. Because I kind of get the vibe that they're doing this as a general release, because they think people won't be able to get the Dollar General and the Customizer pack. So I feel like this is them going, well, if you can't get those, here's this, where you still get a bit of that.
Well, this is superior, I think.
Yeah. It probably still won't release in the UK, but I'm excited for it.
Just looking at the picture, and I don't have a very good picture, but it looks like there's I want to say maybe lettering or a white line that's going across the Marine's chests.
Oh.
So that looks kind of interesting, unless it's just...
I think it's just a reflection.
Maybe on all of them?
Yeah, I think it's just reflection, like the bubble. but maybe. I don't know.
Because it looks like there's something.
Once we get a
maybe-
higher
Imagine if
res
they're
picture.
like a
maybe it's
named
wire
squad
holding it
from
in.
the game.
Maybe. Maybe it's a name. I don't know. But either way, they look awesome. Just looking at the faces, it looks like you got a couple of guys with beards.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of variation. I think that's probably one of the coolest things about these Marines is the variation within it. So being able to swap, having guys with helmets, guys without helmets, it adds to the kind of combat evolved feel, I think, of that.
Yeah.
Those Marines.
Nice. Matt, why don't you
I dig it.
talk about the Ghost and this? It's called the Hijacked Ghost. This is the last of the 3. What do you think? It's like a new build.
Did you address that to me? I missed it.
Yeah, you.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I love it. I think the added gray flares kind of make it feel a little more banished, because if you look at the previous Ghost, and I don't have that one in front of me, but I remember it's not as jagged, or it looks a little more streamlined.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of harkens more to, I guess, traditional Ghosts. But this one kind of looked like it's built for ramming, just like a Brute would do it.
Yeah.
I love that we're getting grunts in the Brute colors. So I love the red. And we also get... Is that a Mark 7 on there? It looks like a Mark 7.
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
Yeah, so we get a Mark
Well,
7. Always
no,
happy
it's a
to
little
get more of
different.
those.
It's the new one.
Is it the new one? Okay.
Yeah, it's the new armor type that's also in the blind bags.
Okay. The pictures are pretty low res at this point, so maybe they'll res them
Yeah,
up.
I'm squinting. I'm zooming in right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is different. And then we get a Brute. So did we ever get the confirmation of that weapon on my hiatus?
I
It was
think
like
I've
an
seen
the
it
not
called a
brute shot.
shotgun somewhere.
It was like an electric shot.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we got the official
Yeah,
name.
It's the non-Brute shot for now. But yeah, no, I also really love the, if you look at the Brute, it looks like his shoulder pad is red.
Yeah.
So I like that variation in color, that it's a nice sleek silver, and then you got the kind of insignia of the Banish is just red. So I'm happy. Like I said, I loved, and I was happy, and I was really hoping for a Banished Ghost to come out for this line, so I'm very happy to see it. It looks good. It looks like the main portion of the build is one solid piece with attachments on top of it.
Yeah, like the
similar
hood.
to how the Banshee works, how there's that gray piece in the front like the Banshee.
Yeah, that's new.
So I'm guessing that's removable.
Yeah, that looks like it. Which I don't know
it's
if I'm
actually-
crazy about it. It looks nice, but I also like I like it when you can build up that with actual
Yeah.
bricks.
And this will be the first Banshee to include, the first Ghost to include flick fire, are those shooters.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Intriguing.
Hmm. Anything else
I dig it.
to add, Fish?
Blob blob. I noticed that the Brute included here is the same one as the Dollar General free pack. So if you look, that's got a re-release, and also the Jackal obviously in the blind bags. So I think that goes back to my point of just saying it looks like they're trying to re-release some things in different sets. So I do wonder if that's to try and alleviate the exclusivity that we're seeing with some sets.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the. I think a general thought is that banished equals red, which yes, but also when you think of the Covenant, they weren't always purple. There was purple in there, but they also had different colors when you were not only fighting the game but also figures. So it's
Different
good.
shades of purple, yeah.
Yeah, it's good to get more red stuff, more red enemies. But I think when we're trying to set up, I don't know, dioramas and have certain scenarios, and when we actually play the game, not all the Banished are going to wear red. The Banished were red in Halo Wars 2 because it was a RTS, and everything needed to look similar to so you could tell apart
True.
the enemies. But anyway, just a note on variety. So it's good that we are getting some red, but I like the fact that if you look at the blind bag series, the elite in there isn't red; it's like a dark gray.
Well, it doesn't look like any of the elites are clothed in red, except for maybe Let Valere, the tragedy of Let Valere.
Yeah.
He seems to be the only one that actually carries red insignia. So if you look at Infinite, we have, I guess, elite mercenaries, and they're all in their traditional blue Covenant colors, and then the Ultras are white or gray.
Yep.
And no red is featured on any of them.
Yep.
can I drop a quick piece of exciting breaking news that
Yeah.
Sure.
may potentially indicate some other things that we could see in the spring wave? So don't judge me. I had Twitter open for a second because
You did? You weren't paying attention?
Jazzwares have just announced the first wave of their 3 3/4 inch figures, and there's a Jackal Sniper. So obviously the Jackals in this line have got the hole in their heads. So
Oh,
I think
yeah.
we'll be seeing them probably sooner rather than later now that Jazzwares have confirmed that. And they've also announced that the brute that we see come down in the drop pod is a Halo Infinite brute captain. So I imagine we might see that at some point as well.
Cool. I love
Yeah.
it. Just a quick lore nugget, but Jackals weren't part of Halo Wars 2. They were just that banished. But they have somehow since been integrated.
Yeah.
Maybe with Escherum's banished.
I mean, Mega did one anyway, didn't they? They did a Storm style one in the Marauder.
They did, yeah. So that wasn't canon for
Yeah.
me until recently. All right, let's get back to the regular show. We're talking about ODSTs and just kind of everything that we love about ODSTs and the figures and the sets that have been released. The star of, I feel like, well, I would say one of the coolest things about Mega Construx recently is the Halo Heroes series. So I want to start there and talk and like lead into the figures with them. And they have given us Alpha 9 over the course of the years, which is fantastic, which is very cool. They've kind of slowly rolled them out in all the series. And so we have the full crew, except for Mickey. We're still waiting for Mickey, but we do have a Mickey official fig, even though it's, I mean, and he's painted well. Maybe actually, Thomas, that's a good cue for our Mickey story that I probably skipped over. Mr. Bovee.
Yeah, so I would happen to get the NMPD Pelican from you, Colin, sealed long after it was unavailable to find anywhere else. And but I had previously purchased a lot of figures that had a Mickey in it. So through the connections that you and I have made and your connections to this show, we were actually able to get the other Tom, who's now on here, his Mickey figure. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's honestly awesome. And I mean, for me, I kind of, and I think I said to you guys a couple of weeks back, actually, I sort of keep an eye out for, well, I have been for the past couple of years, like the NMPD set popping up here and there. But I remember that one never got released in the UK. So it was kind of a case of if I imported it, it probably would have cost me 400 quid and I wasn't going to pay that.
Figure,
and then.
right.
Yeah, like the aftermarket value on that figure was ridiculous. So I'd kind of given up, and then our little show happened, and you guys started to be collecting buddies, and everything worked out perfectly. And I really appreciate it, because now I've got my ODST squad.
The stars align.
So you have all of Alpha 9 then?
Well, I have got all of Alpha 9, but I don't have Buck as an ODST. Because I got him as a Spartan, and I was like, I don't need the ODST version. He can just go with them in his Hell Jumper armor.
Well, he was the
It's
first.
pretty close to it.
Yeah, he was. Annoyingly, that one stayed available in the UK for ages. Like, as in it was on eBay at like this time last year for £10. And I was like, no, I don't need it. And then it just disappeared.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's how it goes. But it does go to show you if you're patient, I mean, I feel like part of the collecting thing for us is I want everything now.
Yeah.
But if you're patient, things will come around. And, and that's one of the reasons that you, Bovee, are still patient. You still have some figures to collect. Things will pan out. Like you'll end up completing the collection, I feel like, in not too long. But let's talk about these. So we have Buck, we have Dare also. And Dare's not technically Alpha 9, but she's part of ODST.
Yeah.
We have Romeo, we have Dutch, we have Rookie, Mickey that we just talked about. Salvo, why don't you give me your thoughts on like which one of these guys is your favorite? Maybe the figure. Why don't you tell me about the figure that's the favorite, as opposed? I don't know if it's different from your favorite character.
Ooh, well, I actually do not have all of Alpha 9.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
I only have Dutch, Rookie, and Romeo.
All right.
So I'm missing, I guess, Mickey and Buck, but like I do have so many Spartan Bucks now that I probably don't need ODST Buck. I would like it though. I always, my favorite character in the game in ODST is Buck. I think that's kind of.
I mean, it's kind of have to be your favorite, right? Like they set him up to be everybody's favorite.
He really is. I mean, like the character you play as rookie, he really isn't a character. He's more of the blank slate type idea, but Buck kind of carries that personality. And of course, Nathan Fillion is probably one of the greatest guys ever. Yeah. So it's really nice to see Buck in there. But on a figure level, which I have, I think probably Dutch, because I do have I have rookie that came with the drone, and then I have rookie that came with the Halo Heroes, and I never opened my Halo Heroes rookie because, in my opinion, they're quite similar. The Halo Heroes rookie is a little darker, but I didn't see the point of having an opened rookie. So I would say probably the best version done would probably be that I have is Dutch, especially the Halo Heroes version because of the decal and the piece that's on his chest. So I think that's pretty good, and the Spartan laser that comes with him. I think what probably would have made it better is if they included faces with these guys. I think, it's a missed opportunity that the characters that show their face in Halo, I know we get this with Dare, but a lot of them don't get to see their face. So it would have been nice to see their faces. But as a whole, I hope one day Mega Construct just releases an Alpha 9 set. And it has all Alpha 9, similar to how they did with Blue Team and Osiris. And I hope we get a Noble Team where we get all of Noble Team together. You could just put it on a little mountainside and have it just like the statue. But it would be nice to get all of the Alpha 9 figures because I think they are probably some of the funnest characters in Halo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bovee, are there any standouts for you?
I'm going to agree with Matt. Dutch is probably the best figure of the set. He just has so much detail on both versions of it. So he really stands out as being the figure to me that I prefer. Character-wise, I probably like Dare because she's awful. Like she's
Oni.
She is the bad guy, but she's supposed to be good. And so they just between the different books and the game, she's developed so well as a character as being the love interest and the bad guy all in one that you love to hate her.
Yeah.
Well, it's like she's frustrating because she's so Oni, right? And she's kind of deep into that.
Well, the thing I'll. Oh, go ahead, Tom.
No, it's fine, Matt. You go first.
I was gonna say the thing I like about Oni is I kind of see them as like the necessary evil of the Halo universe, where they're doing things that are shady, but it's really kind of necessary to fight the Covenant, and of course everything's being compartmentalized from the main UNSC. But Oni obviously was the reason that the Spartans kind of got their creation status going. So Oni is kind of that talk we had with like Dr. Halsey.
Yeah.
Is this morally gray kind of thing, They're kind of like Dare's kind of like the Nick Fury of Halo.
No, I like that.
Her secrets have secrets.
I don't know. I always find Dare funny because I've listened to the audiobook of Bad Blood, and I just think it's hilarious how in that Buck meets her, gets laid, and then he's like, "Wait, you're a spook." It's just hilarious. So I feel like that novel adds a lot to the dynamic of their relationship.
Yeah. Interesting.
And Buck basically became Oni. I mean, so it's kind of he got pulled into that world because of Dare.
The crazy things love will do to a man. I'll tell you what.
Remember, he liked being an ODST. None of this gray area BS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to give a shout out to Romeo because this man takes a gravity hammer to the chest in ODST and like the spiked side of it too, and somehow survives. Like
he deserved it for giving Buck so much lip.
Yeah. And he's the guy that you're supposed to hate. that's how he's written, but pretty impressive what he does in the game. And and I do like.
I never
that,
hated Romeo.
I do like that figure as well. I think they've done a good job with that. Any other anything other to mention with Alpha 9 Fish?
Yeah. I'm gonna throw a curveball here.
Yeah.
Because Dare is actually my favorite.
Okay.
I really like the subtle way the sort of color palette of the grey and the blue sort of mixes on the figure, and I just think they did a really nice job with blending all of the different colors on her really subtly. And actually, the way I've got mine displayed, I've got her with her helmetless head, but then she's got one of the Call of Duty headset pieces on.
Nice.
And it just looks pretty cool. And yeah, I just think she's a good example of a really unique character. And I kind of agree with Matt that it's a shame that they sort of started doing Alpha 9 right from Series 1. Because I think if they had started doing them a little bit later, we probably would have got helmetless heads with all of them, which would have been really cool.
Yeah.
Although I would say the Fox Mulder head from Hero Series 5 makes a pretty decent stand-in for Buck.
Okay. Very nice. Let's move on. So the other interesting thing about the named figures, and I think these are the only other two, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, is we're getting Graves and Lang. And if you don't know who those are, they are part of the Fire Team from Fire Team Raven, the arcade game, which is pretty cool if you ask me, that they've started to incorporate those characters, even though we really have only seen them in Fire Team Raven. I don't think there's anything written beyond that. But Bovee, you've mentioned that you really, I know we actually met and your sons were going to play little Fire Team Raven. What do you like about these two figures?
Well, first, if you've ever played the game, and you're a Halo fan, you sit down and you play the entire thing. It's just it's just the way it works. So. And we've gotten two. We've gotten two of the four figures. So we're still missing. Is it Marcus Hudson and Victor Ramos are the two we're missing. So, and I'm dying for a Marcus Hudson figure because that's the one I always maybe get stuck playing as. Cause
is he green? I forget which color.
He's orange.
He's the orange one. Okay.
Yeah. And so when you play with my son, he picks first, so that's fine. But it's just so you've gotten two figures. I'm happy we got Lang because it gives you a female ODST form, and another named female figure, which we don't have enough of.
Yeah.
But the game is super fun. It ties into the lore really well and introduces some actual, some more, I should say, named ODSTs that are super important characters if you follow along the story of the game that no one ever heard about or was told about. So, like I talked about earlier about ODSTs and being behind the lines and, generally like these guys probably getting very little credit for any of the things that they've done, but they're necessary to winning the war.
Yeah. I mean, they are the reason that Chief survived the Battle of Installation 04.
Well, I mean, that's how it was written. They really helped him out behind the scenes and protecting the Pillar of Autumn and able him to get there and blow everything up. So, and they sacrificed themselves, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very heroic of them.
Isn't it ironic that we got Lang, a character from an arcade game, before we got Miranda? Sheesh. That's never not gonna
We'll
be
get
funny.
a Miranda. We'll do it.
Eventually. When we're all old and grey, and when Colin's even older and greyer.
Right.
Oh,
that's
geez.
right. There's another character in there that's also in the books is Antonio Silva.
Yeah.
So he's the field commander, and then we have Wellesley, who is the AI in there as well. I wonder if they'll, we'll, as more series roll out, we'll get the other two, and then we'll also get a Silva and a Wellesley. That'd be pretty rad.
So Silva uses, and Bovee, you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I think he's the Halo 2 Anniversary ODST model, if I remember correctly. So they could potentially just use the similar camouflage body style that they did with the Marine Sniper, and then put ODST armor on that, and that would be pretty close to his appearance. And I don't see why they couldn't maybe give him an unhelmeted head to make him different, and also include like the little statuette of Wellesley. Because if you think about it, that would kind of be a win-win. Because if you bought several of them and just put the helmet on them, you can get super detailed Halo 2 Anniversary ODSTs.
Yeah, I love that. Very cool. Let's move on from the figures. So there's more ODST figures, but I feel like we're going to talk about them as a part of the drop pods and the sets. So instead of just kind of listing everything off twice, let's move on to the drop pod and the variations. And Fish, I want to start with you because you've been, I don't know,
Yeah.
you've been more of a serious collector, it feels
I've been
like,
doing
for
my
the longest
rounds.
time. Yeah. So talk about the OG drop pods and maybe your affinity for them or your dislike. You know, I'm not sure what your take is on them, but take us through those.
Yeah, so when they were first introduced, they did 3, and they were green, red, and blue. And the blue one was the sniper, the green one was the close quarters expert, and the red one was the heavy weapons expert. And then gradually they began to build them out. So you had a covert ops one, you had a Arctic sniper, and I think there were possibly a couple of others as well. But I always really used to love them because here in the UK they were like a £10 set, and you get a drop pod, which comes with both a kind of long extension and a short one, so you can sort of put it into the drop pose with the sort of air brake behind it, or you could put it as if it was stowed away. Obviously they had the 3-piece opening doors, which were really, really cool. And these, alongside the old school armory sets, which were basically sets that came with a figure, a little build and a bunch of weapons, were kind of the way that you got painted weapons back in the day. So I can remember the sniper pod, which is the only one that I ever had from the original line, was the only way for quite a while that you could get a Halo 3 painted sniper rifle. So they were kind of like the way that you would go about getting those things. And I always remember they were pretty high in demand. I mean, I remember those first 3 sort of became quite hard to track down after about a year. And then subsequent releases, it was always really, really tricky to find the drop pods. And I do think it's worth mentioning, although it's an ODST focused episode, they did try and do some cool stuff with them. So we haven't really seen them since. But they did at one point do Covenant drop pods that you could open up as well, and they had like an Elite Ultra, an Elite General, and some other stuff. And they also did a Flood drop pod at one point, which was really cool. So yeah, it was kind of like sort of, I don't really know what it would be the equivalent to now. Not really a battle pack, but kind of like sort of an option for that sort of pocket money level product where it wasn't just one product at that price point. You could like get a combat unit, or you could get a figure with some super detailed weapons in this little build, and it was just kind of that nice little niche product that you could pick up.
Did you ever see them in store then?
Yeah, they were.
So
in
were they
stores
just
in the UK.
hung like on an end cap, or like where you get all your action figures kind of hung there?
I think so. The original ones came in proper cardboard boxes. So I'm fairly sure they were just all kind of like, they were all
stacked.
piled onto the shelves. Yeah, because they used to, like, this is going way back in the UK, but they used to be one of the things that you would go to Toys R Us to get because they'd always have a good assortment of drop pods.
Okay.
And not to mention, but those boxes were the coolest ODST drop pod boxes.
Yeah.
Like just the tall cylinder type, I guess not really a cylinder, but the taller kind of thing. They were just so unique, and they're just kind of really cool. And where I was at, they did hang on pegs. So
they did. Okay, that's kind of seems like
yeah.
how they're built, is to do a peg thing. But very cool. Do you have any other thoughts on the drop, at least the OG drop pod, Salvo?
I only had the heavy weapons specialist, so I got the red guy. Still, actually, a really detailed drop pod. And the funny thing about the drop pods is they were really detailed in the beginning, and then they took a big dip, and then they swung. I mean, a big deep dip, and then they swung up to some really high quality. So I really do like the original drop pod. And like Tom said, it was a really kind of a really cool way to get some painted weapons. And I think that was the first set that I got an ODST. So it was weird having like 80 Spartan 2s and then one ODST.
Yeah,
but
right.
it is really neat that that's kind of how they started. But yeah, those sets were quality, and I wish I was able to pick up one of the elite drop pods, but I never found it in the wild.
Yeah, the elite ones. I've grabbed another collector, a local buddy collector of mine. He hooked me up with the close quarters one.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And it's got really cool paint detail on it. It's
Are
like all
the local
scuffed up.
collectors just hanging out where you're at?
They
man?
just,
There's
you know
like
what?
Zero where I'm at. I'm like, there's like tons over there.
We live in a hotbed
You have to
over
go
here.
far between to find one over here.
So anyway, so I have one of those, and then I have, I forget. It is like a covert ops one, I believe, that I might have as well. So I've got those. I kept them in the package so far, just because they look so good.
Nice.
You know,
Yeah.
like I'll break them out eventually once I get a little more shelf space too. But Bovee, why don't you take us through the second generation? I don't know if they're really called drop pods, or like, is it packaging that they come in, or what are these other things?
So the Easter eggs, as I like to call them, were just, and it was almost like they did an ODST version of a blind bag, where you just knew what you were getting. The packaging was neat, but it was very cheap, and I mean they're just break open pods that are shaped like a drop pod. But in all reality, the figures from those sets were my favorite. So
they're high end.
The shark tooth face mask ODSTs are some of my favorite figures that they've ever come out with. It was just a different idea, a different way of making an ODST and making him stand out. So the figures themselves were great, but the sets, and I think they came out probably like 2014 range.
Yeah.
Were just very. You really wish they would have done what they did in the older days, because as these guys both said, the old ODST pods that came in the foot tall box with everything were awesome, and then the next rendition of them were very blah. I mean, they're great background material for photos and like if you're making dioramas and stuff, but overall they don't stand up to any of the other pods they've come out with.
Do you remember the price point though, as in comparison? I mean, it feels like this was probably more like a $5.
They were much
price
cheaper.
point.
They were $4.99 here.
Yeah.
$3.99 where I was at.
I think it was the same price as
So
a
that
Hero.
makes sense. So it
$4 or $5
feels like, it feels like this iteration was more like the drop pod was a way to give you a really nice figure versus also a figure and a nice drop pod to play with.
It's interesting looking at it because it was like the predecessor to Heroes in many ways.
Yeah.
Well, also doesn't these kind of Easter egg drop pods span between Phase 1 and Phase 2 or 1.0, 2.0 figures? So you have the same kind of Easter egg drop pod with the old articulation, and then you have some with the new, but both have that shark tooth helmet.
Bovee, you might be able to answer this. I don't know if the first wave of the old ones got the new articulation treatment, or if it was just they did one wave of old style and then two waves of newer style.
Yep,
that sounds right.
That's correct. The very first wave of the egg drop pods, the break open, non-fancy drop pods, was the old articulation.
Yeah.
It's similar to the helmet sets that they had, where the mini play sets, where half of them were the old articulation, half of them are the new. So they did the same thing here. They just, when they brought out the second set of the drop pods, it was the new articulation style.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
And you had to be very careful when you were ordering those because you didn't want to order the old articulation. You wanted the new articulation because they looked very similar. So you had to like kind of double check.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there a standout for you, Bovee, like from a figure standpoint, if you recall?
I always like the green one because I like the coloring on him, the metallic green one. But the favorite one of mine is the goldish / bronze one, and it's strictly because he took the longest to get. Like he was the last one that I needed to complete the whole set.
Oh. That makes sense. Yeah. Because he was hard to track down. He's one of your favorites. I like that. Tom, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, for me, I remember being over the moon that we got an all-black ODST. Because so the black one in Wave 2 came with like a grey undersuit, but I got the same number of those as I did the copper ones, and then I swapped them out, so my ODSTs were just pure black, with nothing but the shark details, and they're like my only ODST squad, which was cool. And then I remember I really liked when they did the third and final wave, because it was right when they did the ODST customizer pack as well. So each sort of ODST, there was like a gold, a silver, I want to say a red one, and maybe one other one. I never managed to get any of them, but they all had like a special piece of armor. So one of them had Buck's torso that had like the little tab for the knife to go on. Another one had the Mickey shoulder plate. Another one had the like little armor bandoliers around the ankles. And I just remember thinking that was a really cool way of adding more variety to the ODSTs back at the time.
Very cool. Matt, did you get your hands on any of these?
On the I got only the new articulation. I don't know why I missed the first wave. I might have, because I think at that time I want to say I knew that the new articulation was coming, or at least we had a set with new articulation. But I ended up just picking up the new articulations. I think I have the it was like an almost black, but it's like a dark green, and then I think there's a black and gray ODST, and both of those guys have the shark bite jaw on their helmet. So I have two of those guys. They're actually really nice, to be honest. I think that they're cool. And I think the thing about ODSTs is that their armor is just so awesome. And it's kind of like that Mandalorian Boba Fett armor, where it's just so cool, and it lends to like this customization that you can just kind of add, and it just makes sense. So seeing, I guess, these kind of shark decals made sense. Like ODSTs would, like, if they were part of a squad, they'd paint like decals onto their helmets.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of adds to the lore of the ODSTs.
I like how it like lends itself to the lore of them being special forces as well, because obviously you see that with some special forces where they'll get a specific designation or a specific code name, and then in the military as a whole, obviously people get tattoos depending on what regiment they're with and that kind of stuff. So it's sort of a natural evolution of that idea.
Yep, for sure.
So I've only gotten a couple of these through just lot purchases, so I don't have a ton to say. But it did, once I did realize that, because I when I was collecting, I would get these little shells. I'm like, what are these things? These things are terrible. But once I came to terms with the fact, this is just like a cool way, or they're cool packaging. A way for you to receive a cool figure, then I'm more okay with that, because I'm sure the price point was cheaper and all that sort of thing. So anyway, why don't we talk about the new ones? I'll start with the new ones, because when I started collecting, just a few years back, not as long as these guys, but the first one that I grabbed, one of the first sets I've grabbed was the Operation Stonebreak drop pod.
Yeah.
It's like a kind of a gray, black, and red. I mean, those are kind of the colors that I tend to gravitate to when I customize my own figures or whatnot. So I grabbed that one, and it just kind of sat there for a long time, because it's like, this is a cool little Halo thing that I have. And I think I also grabbed like a Sergeant Forge from the Halo Heroes randomly. So those are like my first two really like collection pieces that sat on my desk at work. And I do like the playability, so I'm interested to hear what you guys think about these things. And the drop pod has changed from the Bungie style, like that's what the original ODST drop pods that we talked about that was designed after the original style of drop pod, and the new Halo 5 drop pods are what these ones are, and where the door just kind of pops off, and I feel like they did a good job of designing it to make it look like that new drop pod. Whether or not you think that the new drop pods are better than the drop pods from like a game design standpoint is, I don't know, up in the air. But I really like the playability of these, and I have been able to play with these with my sons a little bit, and the fact that they can just kind of hammer them on the ground, that door flies off, is actually pretty cool. And they do it,
You just sat there cringing, like, no, don't chip the paintwork.
Right, exactly. Well, I bought extra so they can play with them, so don't worry. But I feel like the
Burner
playability
pods.
is pretty good with these, and they are a little more hardy than, and maybe you guys can speak to this. It feels like they're more hardy than the original ones, and more of a play feature. I'll throw it back to you, Fish. What are your thoughts on kind of the new ones as opposed to the old ones?
So my old ones, 2 out of 3 of them are broken. Where the door pieces have like snapped off because the plastic gets quite brittle over time. So I imagine in that regard these new ones are better. But I can't give you my comprehensive thoughts because I don't have a new drop pod.
You don't?
No, they never got a domestic release in the UK. So I've never been able to pick them up for retail price. And there's only really been one that's properly piqued my interest, and that was the Flood Hunter one. I would like to get that one at some point, but unless I can like get it through somebody, I don't want to pay aftermarket prices for it. So yeah, it's not something that I've encountered.
I may have grabbed an extra one in my hunting, so let's talk.
Yeah, let's
Matt,
talk.
that's my favorite one too. Yeah, that's my favorite one too. Just the black and the yellow and the flamethrower.
Yeah.
It's pretty rad. When
Doesn't
they came
the
out,
like ODST have a like symbol on its chest plate as well?
Yeah,
They all do.
They all do. Yeah.
Oh
all
my
these
god,
new
that's
guys.
cool. I didn't know
But
that.
it's more
That's really cool.
prominent in this one because it's
Okay.
the contrast with the black and the yellow. But he looks super mean. Matt, what's your favorite?
I only have 2 of them. I have the Operation Throne, and then I
Okay.
have the Desert one.
The bronze.
I probably like the.
Bronze Cobra
What?
one. That one.
Oh, okay, that one. Yep, that's exactly it. I probably like the Operation Throne one just because I think the ODST that comes with it is really cool because it has the. It kind of reminds me of the ODST from the marketing for the game ODST.
Yeah.
It has that orange with the decal on the orange portion, so I like that. I probably am not as harsh with these. I don't see the point of smashing them to get the door open. I don't really use them because I've had them in a couple of my stop motions, but they're not really built with a stationary, like, solid positioning in mind because of the rounder portion. So usually I end up seeing that they're just kind of slipping and sliding within production. So
Yeah.
I tend not to. But yeah, I think as a whole, stylistically and functionally, I think they're actually pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Bovee, what do you think about these new things?
So I'm really gonna just copy everything Matt has to say. I like them. I love the detail on the figures. They really stepped it up. I think every figure, every individual ODST has some type of unique decal on his chest as far as squad markings and whatnot. But I'm with him. The being able to smash it on the floor and have the door kick off is completely unnecessary to me. And it's just you're just asking for him to break. And as Tom pointed out, the old ones were very fragile. Those little pegs on the doors as you open them, they broke off like crazy. And so when you get a sour taste from the old drop pods with that, and then you get new ones that, you're supposed to throw this thing at the floor. Well, why don't we just break the stuff that Dad just bought you? That's all I was asking for, and I hate that about them. But otherwise, these are so well done and such a step up. And really, of all the ODST figures, these are probably some of the best, if not the best, because of the level of detail.
What are these new drop pods like internally? Because I know with the last one, sometimes you'd want to like take them apart in the middle so you could get to the interior to put figures in.
Let me Let me just open mine up. Hold on. I'm going to smash it right now. All right, the door is just kicked. All right, so I haven't been in one of these in forever. All right, so you have a chair, and then you have 4 pegs on the side of each chair, so you can put weapons and little compartments. Cool. There's nothing design-wise, like there's no controls or anything that I can see of. And the chair is kind of what you would see with like maybe the set on the Falcon. That kind of a chair design, and it's stationary and locked in. So nothing super special about inside.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay.
It is a little bit of a build though. When you buy one, it like looks like it's complete, but it's not. Like there's some little pegs you got to put in and put in these little, I don't know what they're called on the sides, but there's 4 little spires on the side that you have to assemble.
Okay. I do like that the door is like has like a clear, translucent look through, so you can actually imagine that your ODST is looking through the window as he's hurtling towards something.
Yeah.
Right. Hell, perhaps.
That's cool.
Hell, yeah.
I remember that with the original ones, a lot of them they ended up painting over the glass. But with the first wave, they just did transparent glass. And the sniper one I've got is like a pod that's got little red details on the glass. So it looks exactly like the one that the ODST drops in the trailer for ODST, the live action one. I think that's quite cool. I did want to ask as well, do these newer pods have painted weapons now again?
Oh, shoot. I don't think so.
Okay.
Let me see.
Yes, they don't have. For some reason, Mega's website doesn't have the 2 newest pods updated, so I don't have nearby.
The one that I have, Operation Throne, he does have an SMG, and the portion, I guess the not the main trigger portion of the gun, but the way you're holding it is painted with an orange, so it matches his armor.
Okay, cool.
So little bits on all of the weapons are painted, but I wouldn't call them painted weapons like what you're used to now.
Okay.
Everything has a color match to the ODST of a little bit. Either the stock is painted or the clip is painted, but overall the guns aren't like full detail painted like we see with some of the new sets.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. It's still kind of like a happy middle ground, so I like that. That's cool. I remember I can't remember the name of it, but the like venomous green coloured one has got like the little laser bit on the SOCOM painted. So I just wondered if it was the same with all of them. So it's cool to hear it is.
That one's called Guillotine, I believe.
There we go.
They got some good names. I'm a fan of that. So
yeah.
All right, let's talk about the sets now. So this is kind of broad. This could be anything else that is ODST related that Mega has given us. I'm going to throw it to Tom. Why don't you start us off with maybe some highlights, some of the sets that you think are pretty neat, or you've acquired yourself that feature ODSTs.
Is that fish, Tom?
The fish, Tom. Yes.
Yeah.
Fish and din.
So in terms of ones I think are pretty cool, I got the Wombat, and I thought that was really cool because I never thought we would get something like that. And obviously that came with the first version of the Rookie, which was really awesome. And I really like the like little printed sort of like almost control panel in that set the Rookie comes with.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but I've ended up with 3 of that piece. And I've actually, I've like started using one of them as like a little motion tracker for my Colonial Marine. So I think that's just a really fun piece. Then sort of beyond that, I would say for me there's really 2 other standouts. And it's one I've got, which is the ODST Troop Pack that was a Toys R Us exclusive that came with Dutch. Green
with
ODST.
Drones?
Yeah, and 2 green drones. Because I remember that was right when the drones were first introduced, and it was a good way of getting them easily. And also, I actually really like the build of that one, because it's kind of like a little terrain piece, but it's got like some wooden panels and stuff. And I remember I just pictured back in the day when I was a kid playing with it, that it was something that like residents of New Mombasa had put together to try and stop the Covenant from advancing. So they kind of just like thrown everything together to try and stop these aliens from invading their city, and now the ODSTs were using it to repel them. So I always felt that was quite a fun self-contained playset. And then for me, the third one, which I would count as a part of this, even though it is technically part of the Covert Ops line, is the Flood Siege set. Purely because it is the only time that they have done a build of a Mac cannon, and it looks so awesome. Obviously, we don't get bases very often at all, so any kind of structural build is incredible, and it's the one set from that line where I'm like, Tom, you're a bloody idiot. Why didn't you buy it? Why didn't you buy it when it was on that shelf at Toys R Us with like £10 off? You were like, nah, I'm going to wait until it's on sale more, and you never saw it again. You silly, silly boy.
Yeah, that is the plight of us all.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, that Mac cannon is pretty rad. I've got my hands on that set. Bovee, why don't you go next? Any standouts from ODST standpoint?
So the Blue Series ODST pack is one of my favorites, and most people in the U.S. don't even know this set exists because it was a UK exclusive.
Yeah.
So it took, again, most of my collection is based on how hard it was to find. So I had to get this one from a collector in England to get him to send it back to me. I'm used to sending stuff that way, but I got this one sent to me. So just a great little set with just a basic standard blue ODST that really isn't anything special, but he's a super hard figure to find. So he's one that has always stood out to me, especially because, again, he wasn't available in the U.S.
Yeah. What else? Oh, go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say, that set's cool as well, because it's got a painted target designator, and some of them, the paint apps on it are a little bit dodgy, but if you look, the screen on the back is like yellow, and the front bit's yellow as well, because I remember I got that, and I was like, oh, it's just silver, wait, what? And like, that was my whole reason for wanting to get that set.
Very cool. Bovee, anything else that stands out?
And then the ODST ambush set was, again, going back to one of the first sets we saw, one of the first sets that introduced the ODSTs to the collection and to collectors. Just a really basic set, but you got, I think it was the very first Brute Jump Pack set, as well as the first ODST set, and it's got a kind of a fun little New Mombasa terrain piece that isn't anything special, but it at least gave you something more than what you get with just a small figure pack nowadays. It's an actual usable play set / stand that you can put them on. So a fun little set that introduced a few new things to us and really got the ODST started as far as Mega goes.
Yeah. That pays a good homage because that has the direct connection to that game. I mean, there's some other sets that we can talk about, but that little, what is it called, like NMPD headquarters or something like that?
Center.
Yeah, that's, you see that all the time in that game, so it's a cool callback.
I completely forgot that set exists, so I'm really glad you brought it up, because that was the first set that came with a spike grenade as well.
Salvo, what do you got? Any favorites?
I'm not a huge fan of the police decals on most of the sets, but as ODST, so I never picked up any of the police decaled, but just because it just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it fit for Halo, in my opinion. I don't know.
Sure.
That's maybe a hot topic, but I did pick up the Covert Ops battle unit, and that's probably one of my favorite little sets that includes an ODST because it's kind of unique.
It's got the what is it, the bubble shield, right?
The bubble shield, yeah. It's actually got my first the newer kind of chain gun, and so I kind of liked it. It's the probably one of the sets that has the only Marines that are unique to that set, that kind of Oni color scheme for Marines. But
Yeah.
so that's one of my favorites. I think I accidentally broke one of the pieces on the bubble shield though during a stop motion. So that's kind of sad. But yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, like I said, I think my favorite part of the ODST sets are the drop pods, because I think that kind of makes ODSTs.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I just put together the NMPD Pelican. I feel like I had to for this show, and I forgot how terrible it was to not have numbered bags.
Oh yeah. Oh.
I broke this thing open, and of course I probably should just sort it right away. But at the same time, I felt like I knew I was going to do it all weekend, and I was building it in a place that is also like our TV room, so I knew I was going to have to pack it up a lot. So the way I build it is kind of like open a bag and then pull out a couple of the pieces that I need, and then like keep everything else in the bag, so I kind of know what's in that bag. It's a terrible process, but. Anyway, once you chip away at the bulk of the pieces, it does get a little bit more manageable. But this giant, like the set is this giant base, this landing pad. That's like a bunch of the bulk, not the pieces, but the bulk of the set. And it's actually nice. It looks like it's a cool piece, and then you have this building that has a couple computers on the inside of it, and so there's some playability there. My boys have liked having that available. It's got the little bridge that comes down to the landing pad, and then the Pelican itself is huge. This thing is massive. It's bigger than both of the other Pelicans that we've gotten by a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's it's not massive. The new one that we're all looking forward to finally getting our hands on, I think, is the biggest. But this NMPD Pelican is bigger, but it was a fun build. I like all of the touches that they had with NMPD. And then the main reason we mentioned this set is because you do get a Mickey in it, and that's we already talked about that, but that's one of the features of the set. And it's really and this is kind of from one of the games, right? Like when I talked about Mickey taking a gravity hammer to the chest, like that's you could reenact that scene with this set, because it kind of happens up on a landing pad. And
that's cool.
You could have all all Alpha 9 finally reunites up there, don't they?
Yeah,
and they do those. That missile launchers. There's a little missile launcher that comes in the set as well. So it's a cool. It's got a lot of play features. We can talk separately about the fact that it's a signature series in line with the other stuff. But as a set, it is a nice set. It's a nice piece to have.
It's probably. So there's 3 signature series sets I don't have. I think this one, the Mammoth, and the Spirit. And I think out of all of them, this is the one that I would really like to get at some point, just because I think having that landing pad is so cool. Like, it's something that Megan never do. So the fact that they did it to that kind of scale is awesome. And I also love the fact that not only is that kind of like a location in the campaign, but it's also one of the firefight maps. So I think it's really cool that you can kind of... I mean, for you, for example, Matt, you could do so much with stop motion with a set like that. So I think it's a really, really cool piece.
Are there studs on the landing pad, or is it flat?
Landing pad's flat. Around the edges, there's studs.
So I probably couldn't use it too much because they'd slip and slide.
Like run across it, yeah. Right. More
Unless
for
you do like
photography.
the Toymation where they put the clay at the bottom of their feet.
Yeah.
Right. That sounds like a lot of work.
And it's super, super hard to clean off when you buy a lot of figures from someone who does Toymation, and you have to scrape all the blue clay out of the feet.
Oh my god, yeah. That I do not want to imagine having to do that.
So the other one I wanted to mention, and there are others, so maybe we'll have an honorable mention, but the Kestrel Strike has a ODST in it. So it features the Kestrel, which is the VTOL, the old VTOL, and then some Prometheans, and it features our orange Spartan that we see in Spartan Strike. And then it also has an ODST that you can drop into this thing as well.
Oh, I forgot this set existed as well.
Yeah. It was exclusive. I want to say, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, it was a Walgreens exclusive, perhaps?
Yeah, that sounds right.
And so it's not a ton of pieces, but there's not many of them out there. And if you look on Amazon, well, don't look on Amazon because it's way overpriced. So I don't think they produced a whole lot of them, but it's out there and it's a pretty neat set. You know, it's got some the orange highlights of the game are carried through in this set. And I thought they did a nice job with that. I think the fact that this weird little game was out and they was tying it directly to it, people didn't have a lot of appeal at the time. But for those of you that grabbed it, I think most of you are happy with what it is.
You just broke my heart because I had a chance to get this Spartan a couple of months back and I didn't take it. And I messaged the guy like 2 weeks later and was like, do you still have it? I've got the money now and I think I'm going to get it. And he sold it. And a fun bit of trivia with this set, the Kestrel itself was originally designed by Mega, technically, because obviously it was the Repex vehicle before it then got repurposed as this in Spartan Strike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had some fun with that Repex line.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, well, we've talked a lot about ODSTs. And before we close, I do have a quick community question, but is there anything else you guys want to mention that we missed? I'll just go around. Bovee, do you want to mention anything that we may have overlooked?
No, I guess, thanks for having me on. ODSTs are fun. They're, as far as if you're a hardcore mega collector like we all are, they seem to be the figure that everybody is always looking for. Like, you cannot have enough of these, and they still sell regularly on all the social media and all those places and eBay for large amounts of money because it seems like between Marines and ODSTs, people can't army build these figures enough.
Yeah, definitely. Fish, what do you got? Anything else?
Mega, if you're listening, please turn the ODST from the live action trailer into a Heroes figure. Thank you, I have said my piece and good night.
Marcus Hudson.
Alpha 9 figure pack.
Yeah, that's right. Any other
This
highlights
is what
that we
happens
missed?
at the end of these, Bovee. We just start shouting out random ideas.
Right, yeah, it just devolves.
Make this, make that.
Salvo, anything else to say? Anything else you want to highlight?
No, I think I'm good.
Cool. All right, so there is something that hopefully you saw out on the spotlight on Halo Waypoint, but there's this giant. I just want to talk about super quick before we get into our community question. This giant frigate that one of the community members created. His name is Steve Witt. Go check this thing out. It is enormous. It took, was it 25,000 pieces or something crazy like that?
Yeah.
Like this guy is put in some work over multiple years, and we got to figure out a way to get him on the show because this thing is ridiculous. And I think it's all Lego, which that's okay. But the fact that how much work and effort and time and how accurate this thing is, it's just amazing. Bovee, have you seen this thing?
Yeah, it's massive. I'm sure people on online are asking Mega to turn this into a signature series set, and charge $150 for it. So,
yeah, right.
But it is amazing, and the level of detail that he put into it, it is. I don't even know where you would put that in your house, and
right.
I could say that, and I have a huge Mega Bloks collection taking up an entire room. So, and yet I don't think I would want this massive frigate in my house, but it is awesome. To do what he did is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. We love seeing stuff like this. Yeah. So I mean, props to him. So Steve Witt, he deserves all of the credit out there that anybody can give him. Hopefully this thing makes its way into the Halo Museum if he's willing to part with it, but I doubt he's willing to part with it.
Imagine how much they'd have to pay him.
Yeah, I know. It's impressive. So check that out if you haven't seen it already. He's got, there's a Flickr account that he's got. If you just want to go to a place to find everything, go to Halo Waypoint. And it is on the spotlight from September 17th. Definitely check that out. Cool. So I had a quick community question that I posted, and maybe just a couple answers that we got. I was just curious what people thought was the best set that Mega's put out, and maybe we had a response or two on Twitter. Matt, did anybody chime in?
We had one. The Halo Mega blog said probably this customizer set. And so it's the ODST customizer red and blue. So that came with a lot of different armor variations and helmet with the antenna or the binocular attachment to the helmet. So that's a cool set. Always comes with a bunch of weapons and bits of gear for the ODST. So always nice to have more customization. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I posted on Discord, got a couple more responses. If you haven't joined our Discord group, jump in and have some fun. It's a wild place, but we do have a couple channels in there for collectibles and builds to block the show. So Pope chimed in. He said, a while ago when Mega first started doing Halo stuff, they sold collectible drop pods with figures. These are fun to... this says, those were fun to make mock battlefields with. So he's probably talking about the original ones, I think.
Yeah.
Another guy by the name of, or a girl by the name of Gongb, G-O-N-B. If you talk about ODST game tie-ins, definitely NMPD. If not, then I like the newest sets of drop pods, though they're fragile. Oh, so confirmation that maybe they do break, the new ones. And then Throm Bomb.
Rapidly snatching them out the kids' hands.
Well, so my basement where we play with our stuff is carpeted, so I feel like on a carpet, those things should be okay.
Do you want to take that risk?
Thrombomb06 says definitely the Alpha 9 Halo Heroes figures. So we've talked about all that stuff. Thank you for everybody for participating. And yeah, thank you for listening. It's been a fun show. We love ODSTs, and hopefully we get more in the future. Hopefully get some in Infinite. I think it'll be you know, there's this crazy theory out there, and I won't take this idea. It came from Duststorm over in Podtacular. We were chatting one day, and if there ever is to be a battle royale in Infinite, make it ODST based. How rad would that be?
Yeah, that would be so cool.
Mm-hmm. All right, that'll do it for our show. Thanks for... Well, actually, maybe do you guys have any community features? Matt, sometimes you have something to say.
No, I think I'm good this time.
No? Okay. Anybody else? Bovee, you want to feature anybody or say anything? A shout out to anybody?
I just thank you guys for having me on. This community is amazing. From everybody I've met to everybody I've traded with and bought things from, it's just... It makes it so much easier when people are great and you get to know everybody. And even just the guys I got to actually meet in person at Outpost. If you're listening, Mega or whoever is in charge of that, have it again. And then again, and then again, like every year. So yeah, we gotta do that. And I enjoy the community. The people are awesome, and it's what keeps me a part of this collection that my son has taken over.
Quick story about Outpost. So Bovee and I had met, or at least become familiar with each other, and started helping each other out a little bit. We both went to Outpost, but we missed each other somehow. He was with his son, and on the way down from our place to Chicago, he was like hunting out all these stores along the way. And then you were ahead of me, and you were like, "Oh, don't go to this store. You know, we've already cleaned this one out." And so I was hunting, you know, other places and picking some things up. So that was kind of fun to kind of help each other. And then we finally did get together and do a little swap of our treasures that we found. Fish, what do you got? Anything else?
I've got two things. Firstly, on the topic of shouting people out, I am going to shout out my friend Simon Fox. And I don't know if he'll be listening to this, because I don't know if he even knows I do this. But he's somebody I know from way, way back. And just on the topic of kind of like nice stories of people helping collectors, this is somebody that I'd known for like 6 years as just an internet friend. And when I was in Pittsburgh, I messaged him like ahead of time to say I was going over to America, and he actually got time off work and drove like 4 hours to come and hang out, get Primanti Bros, and to then take me toy hunting to all the Walmarts to look for Halo stuff. So that was a really, really cool trip, and it was just cool hanging out with him, and that he was willing to do that. So I doubt he's listening, but if he is, shout out to you, Simon, you're awesome.
Love that.
And yeah, that was a good Pittsburgh memory. And beyond that, I do just want to quickly say a massive thank you to Ian, because he has been working hard behind the scenes for us, and he has just launched the first pieces of Builds with Blocks merchandise on the Evolved store.
Right.
So thank you to him, because I feel like he doesn't really get enough credit for the fact that he does so much stuff behind the scenes for all of us, and
Isn't it wild
stuff
how much he
that's
does?
that cool. Yeah, like he's a robot. He has to be a robot.
Yeah, he'll just like all of a sudden message us one day in our chat and is like, "Hey, I did this. Is everybody cool with that?" And we're like, "Yeah."
It's
cool.
not as if it's literally not as if it's like, "Hey, I did this. What do you think of this design?" It's, "Hey, I did this," and it's like a perfect professional design first time.
All right. Yeah, exactly. Or the website all of a sudden has this enhancement, and it probably took him like 30 hours, and he didn't tell anybody until he's done. Awesome. Yeah, Ian's fantastic. So, so speaking of Ian, feel free to support the show with Podcast Evolved on Patreon. We have a growing number of patrons, and we appreciate all of the support. So thanks for joining Build with Blocks. Until next time, evolved.
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 Yeah.
Boom.
Got that.